Okay, so we're gonna do a long tail cast on. You will need to measure however many stitches you need. So let's say we need 40. You're gonna start with your yarn and wrap it around your needle. Let's say 10 times. 1, 2, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so before I do this, notice that I'm doing it on like the thicker part of the needle. I'm not doing it down here on the tip. I'm not doing it on the cord. I'm doing it here on the main part of the needle. Once you have your 10 stitches wrapped, kind of pinch where that's at and pull it off. So this is theoretically about 10 stitches worth of yarn. We had a little bit of extra, but that's okay. And if I need to cast on 40, 100, 200, whatever, I'm gonna take this and measure it by however that many times divided by 10. So if we're gonna say 40, I'm gonna measure that's 1, 20, 30, 40, okay? So this is how long my tail needs to be, is that length. And to do this cast on, we are gonna be working yarn from the tail and the ball, or the working yarn. So that's why the length of our tail is important, because if we run out, then we can't cast on as many stitches as we need. So now we are going to take the yarn that is our tail, and we're gonna place it over our thumb. We're gonna take the yarn that's attached to our ball and place it over our index finger. And then we're gonna keep these two pieces close together, these two strands of yarn together, and we're gonna close them off with those bottom 3 fingers. So we're kind of making like a slingshot situation here. So we have the yarn held in between those 3 fingers. Working yarn is over the index finger, tail is over the thumb. I don't care how it ends up happening down here. As long as you set it up correctly, you're great. Okay, so for this first stitch for the cast on, it's just like a makeup stitch. I don't like doing slip knots because I just don't. So I'm not gonna do that. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place my needle on top of my yarn here in this little hammock area. And I'm just gonna make a little loop. So it's gonna look like that. Like I literally just wrap the yarn around the needle, and that's 1. Okay, we're gonna count that as 1. It'll show up as 1 when we get to the end. It's perfect for now. And the temptation is to kind of like look at your yarn from the top, but I want you to look at your palm of your hand as you're working this, and also kind of keep the yarn taut. So there's a lot of different verbiage for the way you want to move the needles. I'm gonna say what works for me, but if you think of a different way that it makes more sense, then use that. So I'm gonna say go down with your needle towards the heel of your hand, and then come up on the yarn that's closest towards your wrist, that first yarn. So you're gonna go down and then go up and come over and around that index finger yarn. You're gonna pull that through, and then I'm gonna push all of that through in between the both yarns on the thumb. I'm gonna keep my lower 3 fingers exactly as they are. I'm not gonna move them, but I'm gonna let go of my thumb. And then I'm gonna take my thumb and push it on this yarn to kind of pull it out. So I'm not making it too tight. I wanna be able to freely move it on the needle. If you make it too tight, whenever you start to knit into it, you're gonna suffer, and there's no reason to do that. So just keep it loose, but not so much that there's a huge gap, but just give it a little wiggle, and if it's wiggling, you're doing great. So again, I'm gonna go down, up through this first one, over and around that index finger, push it in between the thumbs, release the thumbs, straighten. So I'm using this thumb, and when I push on my thumb, it pulls up the yarn from the tail. So I don't have to reset these bottom 3 fingers at any time. It's starting to get a little uneven. That's okay. I can just kind of pull this way. If you want, you can adjust every time. But something that I notice a lot with my beginners when this is their first couple of times trying this is they forget to catch both yarns. They're only holding on to one tail, or they get lost on which goes over which finger. So I always think thumb and tail. So T's. So the tail goes over my thumb. Yarn, the ball goes over my index finger. So we're gonna go down towards the heel of my hand. I'm gonna go up into that first strand, closest towards my body, go up and over, bring that through, release my thumb, kind of tighten it up, and go again, go down towards the heel of my hand, up towards that first strand, go around towards that index finger, go through the thumb, release, and tighten. So the more you do this, it becomes second nature. You do it without even thinking of it. But it does take a minute for that muscle memory to happen. So let's do it just a couple more times. So going down with my needle, and then I go up into that first thumb strand, around that index finger, through the thumb circle, loop, whatever you want to call it, tighten and not too tight. And let's wiggle, not the camera, sorry, we'll wiggle the camera too, but this is moving freely, so I'm not doing it too tight. If I were to tighten that up really tight, like it's starting to get stuck. There's a lot of tension on that one, and it's going to be really hard when I knit into it. If I were to go too loose, it would look like this, and it would start to get really sloppy. Let me do some loose ones. So it's just like anything. It's kind of finding that Goldilocks, that sweet spot where this is really, especially compared to the first part, this is really loose. It's not bad, but the edging could look a lot more clean. So when I find that and I pull, as soon as I feel it nuzzling up against that needle, I just leave it and then move on. And I don't, once I find the needle, I don't tighten it up more. I just pull until I feel it stop, and then I'm done. Keep going. So down, up, over, through. So down, up, over, and through. Down, up, and over, through. Down, up, over, through. Down, up, over, through. Okay,